to go get a Diet Coke to get me through this fifth one. Of the piece 167, the conical tower and circular wall of the Great Zimbabwe, built by the Shona people, and it was inhabited from 1000 to 1400 CE. It is made of coursed granite block. Coursed means worked, shaped. There are two images. One is the circular tower or conical tower. The other is the circular wall here. These are the Shona people's creation. This is right here where the Shona people are, and this is where Zimbabwe is. So our circular tower and conical wall and circular, oh my God, conical tower and circular wall is right here. And here it is. Great on, Great Zimbabwe means that, or it comes from the fact that this is the best preserved of all of these conical towers and circular walls. And you can see remnants of other circular walls. The word Zimbabwe means houses of stones. And so there were lots of stone works here. And of course, our wall here is made of stone, and so is the conical tower. In terms of context, this structure that we have right here and that is right here on this map was not the only structure of this time. It was just one of many that is found in the upper valley and the lower valley. So lots of enclosures. There would have been as many as 20,000 people living in this region. They, in terms of context, would have been an agricultural or sedentary community. So remember the Apollo 11 stones, which were found in a cave and were used by people who migrated and just hung out in that cave for a little while. These people instead got iron from the Bantu people who migrated south. And so these people lived by farming and having grains that they ate. They thrived in the 1100s in this space, but probably due to overpopulation, right? 20,000 people living in this area. They would have overused the soil and would have kind of abandoned this space because of exhaustion of resources and overpopulation. Other context to know is that the Great Zimbabwe here was a part of the Indian Ocean trade, and they would have sent out copper from Central Africa and gold that would have been found about 25 miles from this structure. And they would have brought in lots of things, but what has been found in this area are beads from Southeast Asia and porcelain from China here. So incredible culture that is agricultural, sedentary, building magnificent structures, and engaged in long distance trade. In terms of content, we see that there are two walls. I mean, this guy's walking between them on this pathway, and these two girls are standing at the base of the walls that are 30 feet high. Amazing. On this rendition, you can see this is the inner wall right here, right? And then here is the outer wall, obviously. And the man in that photo would have been standing like in between them, like on this little green space right here. Inside this particular great enclosure could have been 250 royal houses built of clay, and they would have been homes for royalty, religious leaders. I've read recently that there was actually a cave on the inside of this enclosure, and so religious practices would have been done, some of them in this cave. But this is an evolving understanding about this structure because archaeology continues. In terms of form, we have these coursed, meaning worked on, granite blocks that are of similar shape, not necessarily of similar size. So you see big ones down here, but up above they look smaller. Maybe that's perspective too. At any rate, like the Inca at Cusco or Machu Picchu, there is no mortar used. And that is impressive that these walls are still standing without mortar. More form is that where they have hallways, they used a post and lintel structure. And we saw that early on at Stonehenge, right? Two big stones with a rock lying over across the top. We're going to see that again in architecture, but here you can see it here. And I guess these look like stones. Man, they sometimes look like timbers to me, but these are shaped stones, post and lintel. I know these aren't posts, these are built walls, but they have that same just kind of two structures standing and something lying flat over the top. Chevron pattern is also a form that's found here at the Great Zimbabwe. You can see this like triangle, or it also, birds fly in a chevron pattern in the sky, right? One at the center or one at the front leading at the point, and then all the other birds in two lines like a V following that main bird. We use a chevron pattern in the military. We use it in fabric. My dad, a member of the Air Force, had on his sleeve a chevron for every rank that he had passed. The number of chevrons indicated, higher rank. You can see the chevron here on this top of this wall. Okay, function. We have a conical tower here that I haven't talked about yet, built the same way as the wall, but it is inside the enclosure, and it is thought to be a granary, a place where extra grain is stored in times of plenty, and then they function as a storage place, but they also give the leader this aura of provider, great provider in times of not so plenty. So he can hand out grain so people can survive a drought and such. So the overall function of this piece is that it is probably a political and religious center, just this particular enclosure, right? Then the walls would separate these leaders of higher status with the commoners on the outside, possibly. This is placed on a hill, so from these walls, people could see anybody approaching from miles away, but these are not considered to be defensive walls by archaeologists. They don't have all of the attributes of a defensive wall. Now, a wall, just by existing, is a barrier to outsiders, but it's not as much a defensive wall as, say, towers and walls around castles. Okay, a function, though, of another object that's not a part of our two images, but might be related to the chevron that we see on the wall, is these sandstone bird structures that have been found in this space as well. It's thought that they could function as a representation of the leader, and we know that birds of prey are at the top of the animal kingdom, so they would represent the power of the leader. They may have had religious significance, but they definitely have chevron patterns on their bases of these statues. Do you see that? You see it better there. So possible religious significance, definitely leader taking charge, though, like in the animal kingdom, birds of prey on top. Okay, and then finally, this structure provides a source of pride for people who currently live in Zimbabwe. It is found on their money. Do you see here's the conical tower? And then here is the statue of the bird with a chevron on the base of this statue. So finally, you should know that the country of Zimbabwe that gained its complete independence in 1980 changed its name from a very European Rhodesia, named after a British dude named Rhodes, Cecil Rhodes. They changed it from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe, meaning houses of stones. So that's our conical tower and circular wall of Great Zimbabwe, built by the Shona people, 1000 to 1400 CE, of coursed granite blocks.